Delhi chokes under a blanket of smog. Air quality soars to hazardous levels. Vehicles, industries, and stubble burning fill skies. Millions of children suffer serious lung damage. If urgent action isn't taken, how long can the city breathe?
Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching another episode of Explained with me. Now, Delhi is once again gasping for breath. A thick, toxic blanket of smog has settled over the national capital and its surrounding regions. And it is so dense that visibility has dropped. Roads have become accident prone, flights have been cancelled, trains delayed, and daily life disrupted. For millions of residents, this is not just an inconvenience. People across the capital are reporting burning eyes, sore throats, persistent coughs, and serious breathing difficulties that are affecting not only the children and the elderly, but also the otherwise healthy people. And that's why today we break down how bad it really is, why it keeps happening, and what the government is really doing, where it's failing, and what experts say can be done immediately. Now, before we understand the causes or solutions, let's first look at the numbers, because the data tell a grim story. Delhi is currently ranked among the most polluted city in the world. Let's begin with the latest figures from December 2025. On December 15, Delhi's Air Quality Index or AQI hit 433, officially placing it in the hazardous category. Just 3 days later, on December 18, the city recorded an AQI of 376, which is more than 25 times the World Health Organization's safe limit. On December 22, AQI levels stood at 373, still classified as very poor. By the morning of December 24, there has been a slight improvement to 366, down from 415 the previous day, but it is still firmly in dangerous territory. At its worst, between December 22 and 23, Delhi's AQI spiked to a staggering 689 at night, dropping to 279 during the day. And earlier this month, on December 14, AQI touched 461, falling into the dreaded severe plus category. And this is not a short-term spike, it has been a long-term trend. Reports show that in 2025, not a single day, 0 out of 365 days, met WHO's safe air quality standards. Annual averages show marginal fluctuations, but the reality remains unchanged, which is Delhi's air is consistently unsafe. So what do these numbers actually mean? To answer that, we need to understand what AQI really measures. The Air Quality Index or AQI is a pollution measuring standard arrangement put in place by widely recognized institutions. The AQI scale runs from 0 to 500 and plus, so the higher the number on the scale, the dirtier and more dangerous the air. As AQI rises, so does the risk to public health. It tells us how polluted the air is today or how polluted it's expected to become, including what health effects people might experience within hours or days. The AQI is designed to simplify complex pollution data so that ordinary citizens can understand what it's safe to step outside and when it is not. But AQI isn't just one pollutant, it's driven by multiple harmful substances floated in the air, and the most dangerous among them is something called particulate matter. Now, particulate matter, often known as PM, is a mix of microscopic solid particles and liquid droplets suspended in the air. These particles can include dust, acids, metals, soot, and chemical residues. Some are directly released from vehicles, construction sites, and fires. Others form in the atmosphere due to chemical reactions involving industrial and vehicular gases. The two most critical categories are PM10 and PM2.5. PM10 particles are small enough to enter your lungs and cause irritation. They mostly come from road dust, construction activity, landfills, and wind-blown soil. But PM 2.5 particles are far more dangerous. They are so tiny that they can penetrate deep into your lungs and sometimes even enter the bloodstream. PM 2.5 largely comes from fuel combustion, which includes diesel, petrol, coal, wood, and waste burning. And this is what makes Delhi's pollution lethal and not just visible. Now that we understand what the people of Delhi are breathing in, the bigger question is, where is it all coming from? Now, Delhi's pollution crisis isn't caused by one factor. It's structural, layered, and deeply entrenched. Vehicles remain one of the biggest contributors. Studies show that vehicular emissions account for anywhere between 40 and 72% of Delhi's pollution load, depending on the pollutant measured. Union Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari has himself acknowledged that the transport sector contributes nearly 40% of Delhi's pollution. In response, the focus has now shifted from just vehicle age to emission standards. In an order issued on December 17 last week, the Supreme Court has allowed authorities in the Delhi NCR to take action against two types of vehicles that do not meet Bharat Stage 4 emission norms. First, the diesel vehicles that are older than 15 years, and the second, the petrol vehicles that are older than 15 years. Moreover, vehicles running on the older Bharat Stage 3 and below standards, which are known to emit significantly higher levels of particulate matter and nitrogen oxides, will no longer be protected by the law and can be impounded when caught. The court has made it clear that age exemptions cannot come at the cost of public health, especially as toxic air continues choking the Indian capital. But vehicles aren't the only seasonal culprit affecting Delhi's air. Every winter, smoke from crop residue burning in Punjab, Haryana, and western Uttar Pradesh drifts into Delhi. At its peak, stubble burning contributes 30 to 45% of Delhi's pollution during early winter. Former Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has repeatedly sought central intervention, while the centre has accused states of politicizing the issue. The Supreme Court has also flagged policy loopholes that unintentionally encourage stubble burning. But even within city limits, pollution sources remain unchecked. Industries and power plants emit sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and volatile organic compounds. While some progress has been made, like the shutdown of a Badarpur thermal power plant station, but industrial pollution still remains a major contributor. Just this month, Environment Minister Manjinder Singh Sirsa announced the closure of 411 polluting industrial units, which have been violating emission norms for a long time. But perhaps the most overlooked culprit lies right beneath our feet. Road dust accounts for up to 56% of PM10 pollution in Delhi. Environmentalists have repeatedly pointed out that unchecked construction activity generates massive dust clouds, which worsen air quality. And finally, let's look at Delhi's geography, which experts say amplifies the problem. Low wind speed, cold temperatures, and stagnant air prevent the pollutants from dispersing, turning emissions into smog. Experts also stress that this makes emission control even more critical. But with pollution spiraling, what emergency brakes has the government really pulled? Delhi follows the Graded Response Action Plan, or GRAP, which is a rule-based framework that gets activated when AQI falls badly. It includes 4 escalating stages, from poor to severe plus, with measures like construction bans, vehicle restrictions, school closures, and industrial shutdowns. But lately, the Supreme Court has been sharply critical. Last week, the court called the implementation a total failure, emphasizing that enforcement should exist more on paper than on the ground. The court has also lifted protection for end-of-life vehicles and ordered action on toll congestion. But in search of quick relief, the Delhi government even turned to the skies. Let's understand how. Now, in October this year, Delhi attempted India's first indigenous cloud seeding experiment with the help of IIT Kanpur. The idea was simple. It was to induce rainfall to wash the pollutants away. But it failed. Clouds reportedly lacked significant and sufficient moisture, as it was just 15%, far below the required threshold. IIT Kanpur director Manindra Agarwal admitted plainly that since no rain was produced, the experiment was a failure. Experts have since warned that cloud seeding, even if successful, offers only temporary relief and cannot fix a structural pollution crisis like that of Delhi's. While policies and experiments continue, the real cost is being paid by Delhi's residents. Air pollution is now one of Delhi's biggest public health emergencies. Earlier studies show that 1 in 7 deaths is linked to pollution and polluted air, making the city's biggest health risk. In 2023, this meant around 15% of all deaths, approximately 17,188 people, were caused by long-term exposure to fine particulate matter, PM2.5. This number is reportedly higher than deaths from high blood pressure, diabetes, or obesity-related illnesses. Breathing Delhi's air has been compared to smoking 33 to 50 cigarettes a day. Between 2022 and 2024, government hospitals recorded over 200,000 respiratory illness cases. Children and the elderly are the worst affected. An estimated 2.2 million children have suffered irreversible lung damage. For those with pre-existing heart or lung conditions, severe AQI days can be life-threatening. But even as Delhi struggles to breathe, questions are now being raised about how the crisis is being measured and managed. This year, India's Supreme Court allowed the use of so-called green firecrackers within a limited time window. However, residents reported poor enforcement, and there was a continued open sale of non-green firecrackers across the city. During Diwali celebrations in October, environmentalists alleged data fraud after several air quality monitors reportedly went offline at critical hours. Reports and on-ground observations suggest that water sprinklers were used near air quality monitoring stations, a practice that can artificially lower pollution readings. In the Jahangirpuri region, PWD tankers were seen spraying water around a monitoring station, while surrounding dust and debris remained undisturbed. Air quality watch groups warn that close to 40% of Delhi's pollution comes from dust, and suppressing it near sensors can potentially distort data and mask the true scale of the crisis. There have also been allegations that some sensors were placed near the trees or had water sprinklers operating around them, violating the Central Pollution Control Board's guidelines. Politically, the issue has turned into a war of words. The Aam Aadmi Party has accused the BJP-led Delhi administration of deliberately manipulating AQI data to protect its image. The BJP has strongly denied these claims, calling them politically motivated. It has instead blamed the previous AAP government for years of inaction. Most recently, Delhi Environment Minister Manjinder Singh Sirsa accused the AAP government in Punjab of pressuring farmers into stubble burning, further increasing pollution in the capital. But amid the blame game, experts warn that the real danger is losing trust in the data that guides public health decisions. Now, Delhi's air pollution crisis is not accidental. It is the result of years of structural neglect, fragmented policy, and delayed enforcement. The question is no longer whether Delhi's air is dangerous. The question now is, how long can the city afford to keep breathing this way? That's all in this episode of Explained, but thank you for staying tuned to NewsX World for all international news and updates.